Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to another Learn, Grow, Invest meeting. It is definitely a pleasure to have you join us today. My name is Jermaine McDonald. If it's your first time here, welcome. Today, we're going to be building a stock dashboard, and I'm very excited about this one because I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So I'm going to ask you, before we go any further, please share this video. Please tell a friend. Please bring a fellow investor along to join you this evening. So we are going to be meeting with the BI Brains team, and I mean, it's just going to be a really, really great meeting. So as customary here, we open with a word of prayer. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll get started. Lord, we thank you so much for this day and everything that it has brought. We pray that as we meet as investors, that we will just have a great time. We will learn. We will, learn to, use something as simple as creating a dashboard to make better investment decisions. And we pray, Lord, that it will be a fun time. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So let me take a moment to just welcome again everyone who's here for the first time. We definitely encourage you to subscribe. We cover investment content, personal finance, real estate, stocks, cryptocurrency, almost anything you can think of that is relevant to investing. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, consider subscribing. And yeah, so we have the team from BI Brains here, as I said before. So we have two persons. I'm going to introduce Raquel Civil first, ladies first. So Raquel has a passion for pulling insights from data and has worked with fast-paced global companies, leading big data and analytics teams, designing and implementing data models, predictive analytics, and executive dashboards. That is as fancy as it sounds. She is a published author, and I did not know this, of a book called SAP Open UI 5 for Mobile BI and Analytics, which is also available as an online course on LinkedIn Learning. So definitely check that out if you can. Raquel is an international speaker and has spoken at conferences in South Africa, the US, Spain, Australia, and Jamaica. Raquel is a keen advocate of BI user adoption and having the right tools, talent, and processes to ensure maximum return on investment. She currently serves as CEO of BI Brains Caribbean. She's an adjunct lecturer for applied data science at UMona, and she has VP membership for Jamaica Computer Society and is a board member for the UTech CIS Advisory Board. Similar to her passion for data, which is unrivaled, is her love for food, music, and globetrotting. So let me just add Raquel here. Hey, Raquel. All right, so I'm going to introduce L.E.A.R.N now. So L.E.A.R.N. Myrie attended the Manning School in Westmoreland, where his passion for the sciences started. He moved on to pursuing his tertiary education at the University of the West Indies in 2016 and graduated with honors in 2019, earning a BSc in software engineering. Soon after completing his final year at UWI, he received an internship opportunity with BI Brains Caribbean Limited, where he met CEO Raquel Civil, an excellent mentor and data expert. Well, I call her the data queen. During his 2 months internship, he learned the values of data storytelling and business intelligence and landed a full-time job as visual analytics engineer. He has been working with Raquel on the design and creation of several reports and dashboards in BI tools such as Microsoft, Power BI, and Tableau. He is currently working on becoming a Microsoft certified data analyst in Power BI and looks to pursuing his master's in either data science or computer science very soon. Outside of work, he enjoys reading, keeping up to date with the latest technologies and cars, making beats, and playing tennis. He believes that you learn more from failure than from success. All right, guys, welcome L.E.A.R.N. Myrie.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. All right. So
Hi.
Raquel, what are we gonna do today?
All right, yes, happy to be here. Thanks for the introduction. I realized when I was speaking earlier, I was on mute. Anyway, yes, I know. All right, so happy to be here. And today we'll be talking about the stock database project that some persons may be familiar with. If you've been to our website and downloaded for GraceKennedy or Fontana, we're just going to talk about what went through, like the behind the scenes. We're giving you guys a view behind the scenes, what we went through creating these dashboards, and the process to pull the story from these annual reports, these PDF documents, pages and pages of data or information rather, and pulling the story from that to visualize and present in a dashboard.
Okay. So I mean, let's just jump right into it, right? Where do we start?
All right. All right, so what I will do is I will quickly go through and show you guys, with you as investors, I know your community is very, very much aware of what these annual reports look like. So yeah. I've shared the Grace annual reports. I'm just gonna scan through and show you guys the process that we went through in terms of just pulling the information from the annual report, and then Aaron will walk you through a demo of the GK dashboard that was built.
Okay. All right, so bring up your screen now.
Yes. All right. So this is the
You might need to zoom in a bit if possible.
Yes. Let me do that. Better. Yes. Okay. All right, so this was actually GraceKennedy's, and if you look here, you'll see page 1 of 271. It's 271 pages for their 2019 annual report, right? So we had worked on this late last year, like I think the last quarter of 2020. So the 2020 report was not out as yet, all right? So we had sort of skimmed through, we went through, do an initial review of the annual reports. As I said, 271 pages. Interesting information, obviously, different things that different investors will look at. But I know for us, especially, the reason or the thinking behind this project is that a lot of persons say, I'd love to invest in companies, but these annual reports and going through these PDF documents, and you don't know what to focus on. There are pages and pages of financials, pages and pages of notes to the financials, right? Because those are sometimes equally important as the financials for you to go through. So it can be a little bit daunting, especially if you're not a seasoned investor and if you're just trying to understand where do you get started, how do you know what makes sense? How do you know if the company is a good company to invest in? What are the indicators? What are the things that you want to, focus on? So we sort of thought that, that would be a good challenge to visualize these annual reports, create a dashboard and pull the story from the annual reports and make it easier for persons who want to invest in these companies to get the information in a glance. So this is 271 pages. We spent, I would say, Aaron, I don't know, how long was it? A couple weeks? Was it like 2 months, or I think probably Q4 2020, right?
Yes.
Yes, I would say, yeah, about that, right? Because we're sort of just, because we're working on other projects as well, and this is just something that we're doing internally to help upskill the team and to also give back as well to the community, because these dashboards are available for free if you can download them, right? So like you'll see here, for Grace's annual report, you'll see that they have like a 10-year financial review. And as I said, this is a PDF document, but a lot of the tidbits or important points they've kind of highlighted in this sort of snapshot, this 10-year financial review. So this was actually quite helpful when we're going through for Grace. Another thing that was really, really interesting for Grace, what we try to do for the dashboard when we're pulling out the stories, to have an overall goal. And luckily for Grace, they actually had a very, very clear goal as to what it is that they're trying to achieve over the next 2 years, 3 years. And they were trying to, Aaron, remind me of the goal, because I know you have the dashboard.
Yeah, so they wanted to reach the 100 billion mark by 2022.
Right, 100 billion mark by 2022. So that clearly defined that goal in their annual report. So that helped us. Okay, so this is their big thing. This is their North Star. This is what Grace is trying to achieve, or GK is trying to achieve 2022. So what you'll actually see when Aaron shares the dashboard is the fact that GK actually hit that goal way ahead of target, right? When you guys see that, you'll see, and you guys will see the other metrics as well, or the other key performance indicators that we pulled together to tie to that goal and bring that story together, right? So this, as I said, we sort of went through, we actually did go through and read through the annual report, to be honest. We looked at their financials, which was a key component to building out the dashboard. And when Aaron goes through the walkthrough of the dashboard, you guys will actually see all the different components that we focused on to pull the story together. All right, so I'm gonna hand over to Aaron to walk through the dashboard, because I think you guys have seen enough of the annual reports. And if you're used to Grace, if you invest in Grace, I'm sure that this is nothing new in terms of looking at the PDF document. So Aaron, I'll hand over to you to walk through and show the dashboard for GK.
Right.
Okay, so this was the first dashboard that we created for GraceKennedy using their 2019 annual report. We were lucky enough to get a clearly defined goal, and here we state it as boosting revenues by 5% or 100 billion by the end of 2022. Then we start off with the snapshots. The snapshots basically tell us where the company is at. So we look at where the company was at with revenues compared to its goal. We see that GraceKennedy exceeded its goal by 3.09% and also exceeded last year's revenue by 5.7%. Then we look at 3 top KPIs to track in order to reach that goal. The first one is profit before tax per sales. So out of sales, 5.9% was profit before tax, and the total PBT was 6.13 billion. And comparing to last year, profit before tax dropped comparing to last year by 12%. The next KPI that we look at is dividend payout ratio. So this is a fraction of net profit paid to shareholders. So that 34.3% was the fraction that is paid to shareholders, and the dollar value is 1.54 billion. And comparing to last year, the company paid more, 14.9%. The next KPI that we look at is return on equity. This is a profitability ratio. They had a ROE of 9.3%, and comparing to last year, the ROE had dropped by 16.2%. Then we move on to the trends. The trends represent the causes as to why each of our KPIs may not be on target. The first one we look at is expenses. We compare the company's expense this year versus last year, and we can do a drill through. Right now, we are seeing a high level view of the expenses. You can do a drill through, for example, direct and operational expense. And here's a breakdown of the expense compared to last year. And we move on to looking at the last 5 years of profit before tax. So examining the trend of profit before tax, we see that the profit before tax has been fluctuating over the 5 years. And in 2019, there was a decrease compared to 2018. The next trend is shareholder equity in the last 5 years. And we see where in 2019, shareholder equity increased significantly. Then we move to our actions. The actions basically tell us how we can fix it or how we can address our trends. So the first one is looking at the pre-tax profit segment contribution. So these are the 4 segments that GraceKennedy offer. The first one is money services, food trading, banking, and the last one is insurance. So most of the pre-tax came from money services. Then we look at market capitalization and share price. Market capitalization is an important metric. It tells you the worth of the company. And if you divide the market cap by the share price, you're able to know the amount of shares that the company has issued. Then next we look at the top 5 shareholders. So these are the different portfolio of the top 5 shareholder. The highest came from the insurance companies. Yeah, insurance companies and trust companies and pension funds. And that's an overview of the GK dashboard. You can also view past year's report. There were sufficient data to supply for last year. So if we change to 2018, we're able to see 2018 report with the same view and the same goal.
Okay.
All right. So, quick question for you, and I'm sure I'm gonna check in a moment to see if anybody has any questions in the chat. But in terms of, well, one of the obvious questions I can think of is what happens to future data? So you have up until I think 2019 there, or 2020. What about the data that would maybe be released, every quarter or every few months for Grace? How would I add that data to this dashboard?
Okay, so we were thinking of giving the source data, the Excel files that we worked with. And another option is that you can create your own Excel files and follow the same model that we have for each table, and then do and import them and then append them in the Power Query. So for example, if you want to add the market share details, you would ensure that your columns and you have these column headings in your Excel file. Then you can go to the Power Query editor. Okay, so yeah, you can go to Power Query editor, import the data, and then you can append it to the existing data set that is in Power BI.
Okay, so once I append that data, it essentially would be current as at the date that I added that data, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, cool. So in terms of, so a lot of times persons want to do, so there may be some, what you have done is taken the financial report data and put it in this format for us to be able to see it, understand trends, and see and make decisions from the data fairly quickly, right?
Exactly.
There's an aspect as well in terms of this type of analysis that normally includes like some of the financial ratios that a person may want to look at. Is it, is it a case where I could add those ratios? What can I do with this dashboard is essentially what I'm asking. What would be some of the things that could take it to the next step?
Okay, so The data set is available. If you have ratios that you want to calculate that aren't available in the data set, you can create a measure.
Speak
I
English.
was just about to say
Non-
the non-technical person are gonna be like, huh? What?
yeah.
A measure?
So yeah. So a
Okay.
measure is pretty much what would that be similar to?
Yeah, so it's similar to the formula in Excel. So basically measure uses DAX language, and you can write formulas for different calculations that you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So pretty much if somebody is used to doing their, financial analysis in Excel, you're saying that this would be, a viable alternate option, because the same thing that they'll be able to do in Excel, they can do it in Power BI.
Right, and I'll demonstrate that in the next dashboard.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit more of I'd say a little bit more of a learning curve for Power BI. So I don't want to make persons think that they can just write the same queries. I mean, there's a similar format in terms of DAX, writing your formulas and all of that. But it is still a different language that is built for Power BI. But I think what we want persons to take away from this as well is that you can download the dashboard, get access to the dashboard. You can make it your own. If you are very technical inclined and already know Power BI, then it will be so easy for you to just go in and make the changes. If not, as Aaron said, we're actually thinking of sharing the underlying Excel files, which I think some persons have already asked. So you guys would just be able to just add the data there and then just connect and refresh, and you'd be good to go. Like the 2020 report, if you wanted to just add the same data points for the KPIs that are in this dashboard, and so you can see the trend over time, then you could do that as well. So that's something that I think that we can do so persons to be able to have the data set and modify it as they see.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep. Yes, so for this dashboard, we had shared it, and just to know that we actually got a thumbs up and a thank you from Don Webby, which was really, really cool, on Twitter when we had shared it. So, and for other persons as well who found it extremely useful, and I don't know if anyone here who is watching have actually downloaded or used this in any way. If they can probably post their comments or post any questions that they may have for us, we'd love to hear it. So the Grace one, as we mentioned, was the first one that we worked on in terms of the first company from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Because what we're trying to do with this project is we're trying to do a main junior. So that's been our approach. So Grace was the main. Now we're doing the junior, which was Fontana, and then we're gonna start to alternate between the two. So we're actually, well, I don't know if Jermaine is have this as a question, but we actually have Barita as the next the next
I was
the
gonna
next
ask
company.
you if we could vote on which company is next, because I could do like a poll and we see which company.
Yeah, no, but we can.
Yeah,
we
that's
can
a good
do that.
idea.
Yeah, we actually can do that. So you guys can certainly put out a poll. I'd love to hear what person's saying. We do have, so we start to plan ahead, and we've identified companies that we want to do next. Like I think we've identified Mailpack and can't remember. Aaron, I don't know if you remember the other company. We have started picked companies.
Jamaica Broilers. Yeah.
Jamaica Broilers. Okay, yeah. So we're trying to sort of cover different industries. So we have picked a couple companies already, but of course, love to hear from everyone else because we're extremely flexible working on this project. So we'd love to hear what the results of that poll would be.
Okay. And again, you're making this available to persons at no cost, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So you just once you click on the link, go to the website, then you guys can actually just download the dashboard, or you get the dashboard via email, and you can use it. If you have Power BI installed on your machine, then it's an easy use. Otherwise, you just go to Microsoft. You can literally type Power BI Microsoft, and it will bring you to the link for you to download directly from Microsoft's website. And another point to note that if you're a Mac user like myself here, Of course, there's no Power BI app for Mac users, unfortunately. We do have the mobile app, but we don't actually have the desktop, which is what you'd need to open this file. So if you have access to a Windows server, then you can always open it on that server. Like I use it on a Windows server, like I have an AWS server that has Power BI installed, and that is how I use it on my Mac. So just a note for persons who may have Mac, or you can use a VM VM machine as well.
Yeah, that is what I was thinking, and
Right.
I think Mac users are probably used to that. That
Yes.
there are some applications. If you're yeah.
Yes.
So okay.
Yes.
All right, cool. So what's the next thing that we're gonna look at?
So the next one that we're gonna look at is Fontana. So you can bring up my screen, and I'll just sort of walk through the annual report for Fontana, which I already have up. So Fontana, we use the 2020 report, and Fontana was interesting to go through. Although it says 42 pages, actually more than that, because when you go down and you look at the financials, whenever this will come up, sort of skip through, you realize here that the page numbers is actually double, right? So it's split. So even though it says it's at page 39, it's actually page 70, right? And then the notes and everything to the financials. So Fontana, it was quite a bit of information as well. Not 271 pages like Grace, but they had quite a bit of information that we went through. So Fontana was interested, as I mentioned before, because they're obviously in a different industry, right? Although Grace is a conglomerate and they're operating across different industries, you know, they have the money services, insurance, finance, banking, etc. But Fontana is interesting, obviously, because it's really and truly a pharmacy that I guess happens to sell other items, right? So I was interested in going through Fontana's annual report and pulling the story, which in this case, there wasn't a clearly defined goal like Grace. They didn't say, hey, you know, we're trying to hit this big revenue target in another year or 2 years. That was not clearly defined in their annual reports. So I think L.E.A.R.N had done the analysis on their revenue and noticed that I think on average, like they were growing, like I think it was 20% year over year. So we started to just build a goal of that trend to say, okay, if they grow another 20% or another 21% or so on, averaging out their growth, then they would grow by this amount by the end of this time frame. So that's sort of how their goal came about, just looking at the trending of their data and pulling an average growth year over year. So we pulled that out for Fontana, and when L.E.A.R.N shows you the dashboard and does that walkthrough, you'll see the different KPIs as well that we sort of pulled out to support that goal. And for Fontana, you'll actually see the dashboard looks slightly different. So it just has snapshots, which are the key performance indicators, the KPIs, and trends. So there are no actions like the Grace dashboard, right? So L.E.A.R.N, I'll allow you to go through, and then we can, I think for Fontana, it's interesting, it's going to be an interesting conversation to sort of discuss their business model and discuss some of the things that we pulled out of their data.
Yeah. So essentially what you're saying is the amount that what you can do with the dashboard is dependent on the data and the information that's within the report itself.
Right. And we do our analysis, like I said, for Fontana, they didn't actually have a clear, like they're saying, you know, we want to hit this amount, or we want to grow by this, or want to increase our revenue by this. But when we looked at their trends, they were actually growing on average. I think it was about 20% per year. So we sort of use this as a guiding light for their goal.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. All right. So it's over to L.E.A.R.N to walk through the Fontana. I'm actually seeing some of the comments about dashboards. I see Paramount Trading, CPJ, JMMB, Burrito. Somebody says I'm good at burrito. Yes.
Yep.
I love burrito. I'll tell you guys that much.
Yeah. I think everyone, I've never heard a person say anything bad about burrito. So yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so you're currently looking at Fontana's profit tracker. This basically tracks the profit for Fontana. The goal we defined to be is growing net profit by 21% or 73.5 million by the end of 2021. And in our snapshots, again, we look at where the company is at. In terms of profit, they gain a profit of 276.5 million, and comparing to the target of 350 million, they were below 21%, and compared to last year, they were below by 10%. Then next, we look at the three top KPIs. The first one is cost of goods sold. The cost of goods sold amounted to 2.81 billion, and out of revenue, 62% came from it. And comparing to the target, they were cost of goods sold was above by 3%. The next KPI we look at to track growing net profit is operating expense. They incurred an operating expense of 1.3 billion in 2020, and comparing to the target, they were over 5%. And last but not least, profit before tax was 263.9 million, and comparing to last year, they were below by 2.4%. And comparing to the target, they were also below by 11.9%. Next, we look at the trends, which again is the cause to why each of the company's KPIs are not on target. So the first one really addresses cost of goods sold, that is inventory turns ratio. We look at the inventory turns ratio over 5-year period and compare it to the industry ITR, which is 6. So we see that in 2020, Fontana had the highest ITR, and this basically means that Fontana sells and restocks approximately every 79 days. And the next trend, we look at the top 3 expenses, excluding staff costs. So in that 3 top expenses falls advertising, electricity, and security, with advertising being the highest, seeing that Fontana just recently opened a new branch in Waterloo. And looking at the next trend is the top 3 finance costs. So we see that in the top 3 finance costs, interest expense on right use of assets was the highest. And that's it for Fontana's profit tracker. I will demonstrate how we can use measures to create different ratios. So for example, the comparison percentages, we use measures to create it. So if I click on, so here's a list of the different measures we created. The smart text, the ITR text, is a measure which basically calculates the ITR and then the number of days that Fontana takes to sell and restock. So it takes the year, the selected year, which is 2020, and calculates the inventory turn ratio, pulls the inventory turns ratio for that selected year, and then divides it by 1 and times it by 365 days to get Fontana's restocking period. And that's it.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. That was awesome. All right. So I just want to quickly go through the process of pulling the story for Fontana. So you'll see, as Aaron mentioned, for the net profit, as I said, there wasn't a clear goal like Grace's annual report where they clearly stated what their goal was. For Fontana, we had to just sort of look at the trends of how their net profit trended year over year, which, as I said, I think averaged about 20-something%. And we just sort of use that as a guideline to say, hey, if they increase net profit by another 21%, then this is where they should be by the end of 2021, right? So that sort of formed the goal. And the goal really, as I said, is really like the North Star for these companies. And that helps to pull the story together that we're trying to visualize in the dashboard. So that's why it's very important for us to sort of nail that goal to drive the story home. And the KPIs, as Aaron would have gone through, the KPIs are supporting the goal, right? So the KPIs are saying, listen, these are the things that you need to measure and track to know that if you're gonna hit that goal or not. All right. So clearly for Fontana, we need to measure net profit because that is our goal as well, to see how close they are trending towards it. The cost of goods sold, here expressed also as a percentage of revenue. You see the cost of goods sold is 2.81 billion, which is obviously understandable because they're definitely a company that has a lot of inventory moving in and out. The operating expenses as well for Fontana, obviously, and you'll see it when you look at the top 3 expenses, which is kind of linked to the operating expense, the trend. So their top 3 expenses, the big chunk of their operating expense is really staff costs, which is why we excluded it when we did the top 3 expenses. So if you look through Fontana's report, if you look through their financials, you'll see that staff costs and anything sort of tied to their staff costs is really what's driving their expenses, right? Obviously for the Waterloo, I think they had hired like a whole lot of persons as well. They had like, I think they had probably doubled their staff count. So they did do a lot of hiring, and that of course sort of drove up their staff costs because that there's everything tied to it. There's pension, the statutory obligations, and all of those things, right? So we excluded that when we looked at the top 3 expenses because we wanted to know what are the other expenses that are linked to their operating expense, would have been advertising, electricity, and security. All right, so outside of staff, those are the other top 3. So really the top 4 is staff going down, right? And then of course the profit before tax, to look and see what their profit before tax was, which is 263.9 million. And we pulled that out because of course we're trying to get to this target here. Fontana is trying to get to this target of growing their net profit by 21% or 73.5 million. All right, so the inventory turns ratio, which was actually quite interesting when we're working on pulling this. So the inventory turns ratio is sort of tied to their cost of goods sold, right? So their cost of goods sold, as you can see, is a big chunk of their expenses, right? So the inventory turns ratio, we started to look at different companies that are in the pharmaceutical industry. What is their inventory turns ratio? And we actually found it interesting. So we're looking globally as well. We're looking at other companies because I don't think it would have been just enough just to say that the inventory turns ratio is 4.5. What does that even mean? And part of building these dashboards as well is that we're trying to not just pull a story, but we're trying to also help persons to understand how things are connected. So if I just told you that Fontana's inventory turn ratio is 4.5, you may be like, okay, what does that mean? What does that metric actually mean? Right? And it's really and truly how quickly they move the inventory in and out of their store, right? How quickly they restock. So we're looking at other companies, other pharmacies, etc. So we looked at, for example, CVS, and I think that their inventory turns ratio was like 10, which literally means that they restock every month. It was like 10 or 11 or something like that. Fontana is about 4 point something. So the average for the industry is about 6, right? So we started did some research, come up with the average. It is about 6, and while Fontana is below average, I think if we could start to understand the market and understand logistics and all these different things happening, especially with COVID and everything else, I don't think that obviously this is detrimental. So for them, they restock, they sell and restock approximately every 79 days, right? Which is about every 2.5 months. Right, but for the bigger companies, bigger pharmacies, that would be, if you sort of compare to Fontana, obviously in a whole different country, they're pretty much restocking every month, selling and restocking every month. as I said, this metric as well is important, because if you're spending a lot of money on your cost of goods sold and you're not actually moving out the inventory, then that will be a problem. All right. And likewise, I said, for the top 3 expenses, when we sort of dig through the data there, excluding the staff costs, then we really got to see what else is really driving the expenses besides staff. All right. And likewise, the finance costs as well for Fontana, because of not just the Waterloo location, but also everything else that they had done. In terms of, like, creating this, I think they got like a new accounting software and a new accounting policy that they're using. So there's a lot of expenses that went into. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, the IFRS 16.
Right. Yes. Yes. Right. Correct. So there's a lot of expenses that went into the Waterloo location, right? So that sort of drove up some of their finance costs as well. So it was quite interesting, as I said, going through Fontana, looking at the data, combing through their financials, looking at the different KPIs, the different metrics that we thought would be key drivers to focus on to see, if they can hit this net profit of pretty much an additional 73.5 million by the end of the year.
Oh, so my mind is just going all over the place, because I love this stuff, Raquel. Working with data is my thing. We have 2 questions. First one is from Orville. He's asking, what if one of these companies do something significant not in the financials or trends never seen before in one of the company's history? How would the dashboard factor that in?
Okay, thanks, Orville. That's a good question. So you're saying, what if the company, let me go back at the question, does something significant?
Let me bring it up.
It puts it up on the screen. Okay. Yeah. Never seen before in one of the company's history. How would the dashboard factor that in? So for the dashboards, how the dashboards are built now is the dashboards are pulling data from the annual reports that are posted by the companies. So if the information is not in the annual report, then it wouldn't be reflected in the dashboard. So while the dashboards are dynamic, like for Fontana, if Aaron clicks on the year drop down, you can see the data for 2019 as well as 2017. And I think we go back, for Fontana, it was 5 years or 4 years, just based on what information that was available. So if it wasn't in the annual report, sadly, wouldn't be reflected in the dashboard at this point in time. But as I mentioned to Jermaine previously, is that we're getting a lot of feedback about these dashboards and about just access to the financial data. So there are different projects and ideas that we're exploring internally to see how we could actually get this data in a more sort of real-time format for other companies as well. But as it is now, this is really just a dashboard visualization of their annual report.
Yeah, and I was just gonna add, there are 2 sides to a company. There's a quantitative and a qualitative. So there are some things that the company may do that won't reflect in the financials right away. You may hear about it in the news and you'll see the impact of it months down the line. So you have to take both sides when you're analyzing the company. So if you know something that they have done that you think is going to be an impact on their ability to turn over their inventory, then you can factor that in your analysis of the company, which is why it's important to be tracking the news for the companies that you are interested in, because the news will tell you faster than will reflect in the annual report, because it's always any form of accounting is about things that have already happened. So if it's brand new information, then it's not likely to be reflected in a report until at least months down the line.
Yeah, but good question, Orville. Good question.
Yeah, definitely.
That is definitely a part. That is definitely an investor thinking right there, right? Trying to figure out what's currently happening in the market and how that would be reflected. You may see it in the stock price, but won't necessarily be reflected on the dashboard.
Exactly. And then Des, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, is asking where they can get access to the dashboard.
Okay. I think I saw Sue in the chat. So Sue will provide the link. It's on our website. If you
want to bring up a link to the website as well so persons can see it?
Sure. Let me just do that 1 sec, and then you can bring up my screen.
All right. In the meantime, I'll just say if anyone has any questions, I know a few persons might have joined us a little late, but if you have questions, let us know. We're looking at how to create a stock dashboard using Power BI. And from what I've seen so far, it's pretty easy to do. The BI Brains team has done most of the work for us already. So we just need to download whatever we're going to see on, let's bring it up now. Once we download this, we pretty much have what we'll see on the screen.
Right, correct. Yeah, so this is the link here, which I think Sue may have posted in the chat. So once you click on this link, then you'll be able to just enter your name, email, and you can click on this claim free stock database, and you'll get an email with a link to download. And you'll get the Power BI file, just like what you just saw Aaron show on the screen. I think now you'll get it for Fontana, and you'll get any additional templates or resources that we use to build these dashboards, because we do use like a wireframe and a storyboard. So we walk through the process of building the dashboard, and we'll share those resources with you as well. And it's all free. Yes, it is free.
The best price is free. I'm kidding. But,
it is free.
Yep. All right, cool. So are there any frequently asked questions about, I mean, you've kind of, this has been available for a few months now. What are some of the common questions persons may have that you think is important for us to address here?
Okay, so one of them, which I'm actually going to just scrolling down to the bottom of the page that you have shared here, is this this person that asks. So the funny thing with this dashboard is when we did this, when we had this idea for this project, it was, okay, how can we help Jamaicans or even Caribbean companies? Because we're thinking, okay, maybe we can do the Trinidad Stock Exchange next, or the Barbados Stock Exchange. But starting in Jamaica, how can we help persons to make sense of these annual reports and, use our skills or talents as data and BI people and tech people and present that to them so that they can say, okay, yes, okay, this is what this 200-page PDF report is saying, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that was the thinking. Okay, how can we do that? I said, okay, let's start with Grace. Everybody knows Grace. Everybody loves Grace. Over 100 years. A very strong company, a very solid company, very solid verticals, very solid brand. So Grace was just an easy company to start with. And Grace is not just Jamaica or the Caribbean. Grace is global, right? So they were a good start. So we worked on, Aaron and I, we worked on it, had the meetings worked through, we ideated, we created and we pulled the story. As I said, it was very easy because Grace already had a goal. We just had to sort of pull the KPIs together for that goal, and we built that. Now, when we put it out, we're thinking, okay, we'll have persons who typical like finance Twitter, Jay, everybody's here from there, will be like, okay, this is cool. And we'll actually get more persons in Jamaica, not knowing that this would be like this person here that commented, this person is from the Middle East, asking about how do they change the data source. And we're like, okay, when I responded to it, I was like, when I checked, I'm like, this person is working for a company in the Middle East, right? So I didn't actually expect that it would be so far reaching. We have other persons as well from the US. We have persons from Europe. We have persons from other places in the Caribbean. I just didn't anticipate. But then the point of it was, okay, we're giving you a free dashboard template in Power BI that you can actually take. All the code is there that Aaron just showed you. Everything is there. You can actually comb through and learn, even if you wanted to figure out Power BI. It's actually a really good starting point that you can get your hands on. That persons would probably charge you to even, just create, or if they do it, they would lock everything and say, no, you can't do this or whatever. We're just like, listen, it's for you. You can go and you can make it your own. If you want to add data, change the data, it's up to you. Make it your own. Have fun with it, right? So one of the questions, to go back to your question, it's like a long-winded story to get back to that question. One of the questions is actually, how do I change the data source? Can I connect it to my own data source, which is a question that's here on the page. If you go onto the page, right, that was a question that this person asked. And Aaron has sort of walked through an example with the GK dashboard that you can actually create if you wanted to update, because GK dashboard, we did this on the 2019 annual report because we had worked on it last year. So if you wanted to add the data from the 2020 annual report, then you could just put that data in an Excel file following the same structure of the data that's in the dashboard right now. And then you just append the table that you'd have created in Excel to the existing one that we have in the dashboard, right? That's an easy workaround if you don't have a Power BI license, right? So Power BI is free to use. You can download it, you can use it. The challenges that you may have is that if you're trying to share it or publish it somewhere, then you're going to, you're talking about licenses issue, which is really Microsoft. That's not on us. We just thought this was the easiest way to sort of get it to persons because it is free to download and use. So that's one of the popular questions that we do get, right? How do I change it? What if I want to use this as a template to create my own dashboard? And really and truly you can, right? You can actually do that.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well. How can I use it as a template for other companies? Because I know a lot of persons who would have their own Excel templates of all the companies.
Yes.
And so, but there's so much value in having the ability to just look and see a KPI, look and see certain trends about the company that might not necessarily be there, obviously combing through all of those numbers. Mm-hmm. So this is definitely useful.
Right. Exactly. It definitely is. And that's the feedback that we've gotten. And I'd love to hear, as I said, from anyone that's online that would have downloaded it and used it. I'd love to get their feedback if they could just post it in the chat. I'd love to see that as well. But for the other persons that we've received feedback from, some persons are saying, okay, they don't know Power BI, how do they use it? And sort of sending them a link, just go to Microsoft site, download it, you click on the file and it opens in Power BI. So if you're not necessarily technically inclined, you don't want to learn how to use Power BI, then you could just use the dashboard as is. If it is that you want to, fool around, make it your own, change the data, then you can do that as well, because there's nothing about the dashboard that would be locked or restricted.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I've seen as well. I've seen persons make dashboard or trackers available, but you can't change much. You can't do anything with it. Yeah. You can't, if you wanted to make a change or to understand what's underneath, you don't have that power. So that's good to know that we're able to make those changes ourselves. Yes. I think that's very powerful. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I mean, on the other side of it too is that you can actually learn Power BI for free on Microsoft.
Yeah.
So you really pay if you want to do a certification, but you can go online, you can even go on YouTube and all these other resources and learn Power BI. If it is a tool that you think you're interested in learning more about, that's something that you could explore as well.
Okay. So in terms of roadmap for this dashboard, what are you expecting to do? I know you said there are some companies that you have in mind, but what can we expect? How soon do we expect that dashboard on Barita? Just start there probably.
Okay, no problem. So for Barita, we're working through their 2020 annual report to build a visualization for Barita. And we're still sort of in the ideating phase, right? Just to manage expectations, no pressure, Jermaine, right? So we are working through the designing the storyboard with the goal and the KPIs. We're actively working on that. And I don't know, maybe new persons have joined. So I'd love for you to post the question again to ask persons which company they'd love to see, because we're very flexible. We could always, after we've completed Barita, we could always just work on maybe the top picks that we see in the chat. So we could shift our focus. As I said before, we had like Meal Pack and I think Aaron said Jamaica Broilers on our list of companies to do after Barita, but we can always shift that around if there's a company that persons are interested in. I think I saw like Proven in the chat and JMB and some others. So if anyone has any others, please post them. We'd love to hear from you guys so we can look into those and quite possibly create the dashboards for those companies.
Okay, so for now, if we have the GK dashboard and we have the Fontana dashboard, if we have a company that those KPIs would be relevant for, we can take the data and just dump it in as the source for that dashboard.
Yes, you could.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I see we're seeing some options in the chat now. So
nice.
persons are asking about JMMB, Carib Cement, Lumber. I'm not sure what NC is, and I'm not familiar with that company. Paramount Trading or CPJ, Wisinco, Panjam.
Someone said all except Siboney. I thought that was funny.
Well, yeah. Oh my gosh. Why wouldn't you want to analyze Siboney, Kefash? I mean, why not? Why not? And bear in mind, so this, I never thought about this before, but we're actually not limited to Jamaican companies for this dashboard, are we? Because we can essentially plug in the data for a company on the US stock market or any other company for that matter once they have an annual report, right?
Yeah, you actually could. The only thing with the data is because it is so customized to that specific company, it would help if it is a similar industry. Okay. So if you wanted to look at a similar company to Fontana, a similar company to Grace, then that would be tracking, like for Fontana, the inventory turns ratio, that's very specific to Fontana's business model, right? You're not going to see that as a KPI for us for other companies outside of that industry.
Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. So, great. Do we have, let me see if there are any other questions. I was just asking them if we should do a company analysis on Siboney. I don't know if anybody would be interested in that. Maybe we should do a dashboard for Siboney. Who knows? All right, cool. So I'm not seeing any questions, but if you're watching this on a replay, be sure to post your question in the comments. Definitely should follow BI Brains on social media. And yes, crickets indeed, Renee, crickets. Nobody is paying me any mind at all.
You're the only one exploring the Siboney thing.
Right. So in terms of, we didn't get into this before, Raquel, but in terms of what BI Brains does on a whole, tell us a little bit, because I mean, it's interesting. This project is there, how would persons, get in touch with the BI Brains team, what type of work they do, what type of customer would be best to reach out to you, that kind of thing.
Okay, all right, sure. So BI Brains, we're a data science business intelligence company. So we work with different clients, different industries, and we also work with different tools. As much as we've done this dashboard in Power BI, we actually do work with Tableau, with SAP, for anyone who may have SAP, with Click. So we're tool agnostic as it stands now. But obviously, there are a lot of companies here that have made a strong investment in Microsoft. So we do a lot of Power BI work. But for us, we're really and truly focused on helping customers to make the best decisions with their data, right? So we can say that we're a data company, but quite honestly, if you're not making some actionable decisions with your data, then it really doesn't make any sense, right? So I think I'll just sum up what we do as that. So as I said, we work in different industries, different companies. We do end-to-end data architecture building. We do data visualization. We do analytics. We build dashboards similar to these dashboards that you would see here. We do training as well. Like if you go on our website, you'll see our training. We actually train on the methodology that we use to build the dashboard. And, I think we're just very, as a company, so we have an office in the US, office here in the Caribbean, based out of Kingston. We're very focused on a strong community, kind of like Learn, Grow, and Invest. We really and truly believe in giving back to the space because the space enriches us. So we feel like we give back to the space, which is why this dashboard as well is free. And, we put time and effort into building it, but at the same time, we give it out for persons to use for free because, it's very important for us that persons understand the value of data, persons understand the value of, making actionable decisions from the data and not just sort of guessing. You don't want to be guessing if this is a good company. You don't want to run down the Siboney stock, right? And you're not investing in some fundamental business like a solid company like Grace or Fontana. I'm not giving you stock advice. I just want to say that, you know, we're not giving stock advice or encouraging anyone to buy any particular stock. I think what we're trying to do is to just show you that there are different ways that you can view information, and it can help you to support your decisions, whichever decision you decide to make.
Agreed. And that's what we're about here at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest. We want to provide information for you to be able to make an informed investment decision. So I think this dashboard does that. It accomplishes that purpose for the community. So I would greatly encourage everyone to check it out. So yeah, cool.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Awesome. And I hope everyone got the link in the chat. I think I saw someone say they didn't get the link. So everyone got the link.
Sue is emailing it to me, and I'll post it in the description right after.
Perfect. All
right. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you guys so much. I do have an announcement to make, so I'll ask everyone to stick around for a minute or two. All right. So I'm just gonna put you guys backstage for a bit. All right.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. All right. Okay. Wow. So that was excellent. I'm definitely going to be checking out that dashboard. Thank you, Paul, for subscribing. Really do appreciate it. So guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're 2 weeks from being 1 year on YouTube, and we are extremely excited about it. We're so excited that we are doing a giveaway. Well, we're doing a bunch of giveaways. We'll be giving away a lot of things over the next couple of weeks. So we want you to pay close attention to our social media, because we're going to be posting a competition starting tomorrow. And we want you to take part. It will, I can't give away the prizes just yet, but it will be worth it, right? So on May 6th, we're going to be celebrating our 1 year anniversary. We have Courtney Campbell, who will be joining us, and we're going to just be talking about the importance of financial education on that day. And we're going to be giving away a lot of stuff, right? So we want to thank everyone so much for, you know, being a part of the community. Kefash, trust me, the prizes that we're going to give away, some of them are going to involve your attention to detail from previous meetings. So I hope if there's any meeting that you have not watched yet, I would watch it and make notes, because a few of the giveaways are going to be based on content that we've covered in the meetings, right? So that's just one thing. The next one will be just a basic activity on social media. And yep, that's it. All right. So guys, thank you so much for being here with us. If you have not done so yet, leave the video a like. We thank you so much for being a part of this community. And we definitely hope you join us next week. David Mullings is going to be joining us. We are looking forward to that conversation. David is going to be speaking about how to determine whether or not a company is worth investing in. If you know David, he has a lot of knowledge. And so we're looking forward to learning from him. I'm sorry. Just spend this weekend and watch over all of our videos. We actually wouldn't mind it if you just go to our channel, hit play, and watch all of our videos. We've only done 30, so maybe a day and a half you'll watch all of them. Yes, so I got the link for the stock dashboard. I'll be sharing it shortly. And so guys, for any other comments, we'll catch it after and reply. Thank you so much again. And I just wanted to leave you with this scripture, as we do here at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest. So we want to remember the Lord our God, for it is he who gives us the ability to produce wealth. That is what we believe in. That is what we know. And we definitely want you to contact us on social media. And yep, we'll see you in the next one.